Welcome, Sean Stinn, to White TV. We are proud that you came from the United States. It's a long way to Stockholm.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to come and see you, and thank you for everything you've been doing.
Yeah. We had contact during the telephone conversations we started in last summer for the uniting of TIs, targeted individuals, victims of mind control.
Right.
Because one important point is that they join from all the countries. There's not one single country without a TI.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah, and then they have to join forces, and then this resulted in the ICE Act, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's a new group. It's like Lars and
Lars from Denmark,
yeah.
Lars Drugod, yeah.
Lars Drugod, and another one, Peter Rosenholm.
Peter Rosenholm.
And I forgot the third guy. He's the paramedic.
Derek.
No, that's not Derek. It's another guy.
Yes. Okay.
Jesse, that's right. Jesse Beltran. Sorry, Jesse.
So we made steps forward to fight back, and by uniting and starting associations, societies, and therefore it's also good that we meet now and complete the puzzle we lay with all the interviews of TIs all the world over. So that laymen and professionals can get convinced what's going on, because it is so difficult to show what's inside everybody's head. And I usually start with the question, how started it in your case?
I think it's since I was a kid. My dad was a cryptographer in the Korean War, and he actually complained to his sister about some things like this. I was just telling Magnus this earlier. Somewhere around the timeline was like in the 50s, like 1956 or something.
And so he was in the NSA?
No, I think it's just in the regular military.
Okay. Marine?
I think Army.
Army, okay. And what are the indications that it started so early?
I think we knew them, or he is very smart, like a very high IQ. And they knew that he actually knew that they were keeping tabs on him. So did my mother. And just gradually, the attacks come.
Yeah.
They just start working on that person.
And how did you realize that you are also targeted?
They hid it from me, I think. There's several times when I got in an argument or something happened, and then it just stopped, and they wouldn't say anything else. Or I couldn't figure out what was going on at different times in my life. And then finally, by about age 37 or so, then I realized stuff was really going down. People were, I was getting stalked, and I complained to people in my family about this, and they were, the traditional answer like, this is all in your mind, and
crazy.
Yeah, ignore it, or if it's really bothering, just ignore it, keep going, and then I succeeded through that, and succeeded in college, and then once that really started happening, that's when they came full out after me. But there were a lot of things earlier in my life that, when you look back through the prism of a TI experience, you can start to see things that are like, I was pretty well surrounded for years. I didn't really even realize what was going on a long time.
Did you have some brain surgery when you were a child?
No.
Could it be that a dentist put in something?
I did, actually. That's funny you should say that, because I did catch a dentist one time drilling, and he took this thing, had it on the tweezers, and he was fitting it in my tooth, and I stopped him like, what is that thing? And he told me it was, actually I recognized what it is from a book when I was studying engineering. It was a crystal. It's a radio crystal. It had a wire connecting the two ends with a little piece of semiconductor material on it. And he told me at the time, I was like 15, he was drilling. It was a huge molar. And he told me, no, this is just to measure the depth of the hole. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then he filled it, and I just went, put my head back again. But I didn't think of that. And then, except I did have some kind of an attack right after that when I left the dentist.
Oh, shit.
I started radio. radio station. So like crazy pain. I was riding my bike and it was like blinding. And I told my dad this, and we laughed at the dinner table. Like, isn't that funny? You heard the radio in your mouth. I thought it was funny too.
What year was that? Which year?
Oh, that was 1980.
1980?
Yeah, a long time ago. Like about 15. I was about 15.
Yeah. And in which town?
In Chicago.
What was the name of the dentist?
Dr. Michaels. So I went back there, actually. I thought about that, and it was like locked up, but he's still there. And I found out later, actually, incredibly, both of my sisters went to the same dentist too, so I didn't ask them about it.
And they are targeted as well, your sisters?
I think they don't realize it. Like, and I've talked to them a little bit about it, and you get the traditional response like, it's in your mind, or there's nobody bothering you. And this also happened to my mom, so. Her life, she's actually disappeared.
Don't realize it because that's just the case that they don't.
They'll go after the whole family, really, and then recruit some, and then they do things to those people too. But they never realize it because they think they're like insiders or whatever, or they're trying to help their sibling or family member through it. They're sincere, but it ends up being just horrendous, like a terrible insincerity, and they try and encourage the denial and all these kinds of things. It's really stressful for the relationships.
Did they instrumentalize your sisters, that they made some criminal actions or something like that?
No, I mean, they live their life. I think they're both happy. I mean, one's doing very well and one works at night. I think she has kind of a tough job, but like we're completely separated. I talked to one on Facebook. We were separated almost as children, like less than 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, really. That's the usual tactics as well, to separate.
That's a long, multi-generational situation in my family. It's pretty bad.
And your parents are still alive?
Nope. These are terrible stories, actually, that were reported on in Chicago. One, my father, the one with the high IQ and cryptography, he died mysteriously. My mother was supposed to be schizophrenic, but I don't think there's anything wrong with her. She disappeared. My aunt was another genius. She did math. She was sterilized, and then she died mysteriously. And I'm the last one. That was reported on in Chicago. A lot of sterilizations, like right around 1980, between 1978 and 1981. It was reported on in Chicago by Carol Marin. She's a famous reporter.
As Kissinger puts it, we want to get rid of useless eaters. He's of the opinion there are too much people on the planet. But when we now focus on your father's death, and what kind was it mysterious?
He had a surgery, and he was injured in the surgery, and then he went to another specialist, and he disappeared. He ended up, his sister found him in some hospital in California, and he was in a coma. And he was full of infections and stuff. And she flew him out, medevaced him, and then back to Chicago. And they revived him, and he was talking, and she thought he was okay. She went to her summer home, and they called, and he died. They had to come back, and
what was the official reason for the death? Did they make an autopsy?
They did. I got the paper. They said it was pneumonia, but she said something like a stroke happened, or different things, so many strange things. I was like, come on, what is this? What's going on here?
What could be the purpose?
He just went to visit a specialist. I think he was going to have a successful outcome, and they found him transferred to 2 different places, and he was in a hospice or something, where people were to pass.
What was his name?
This place, I think the name of this place is called Kindercare. That was the name of it.
And your father's name?
Wayne Stinn.
Winston,
Yeah.
yeah. Could there be a reason to take him out? Was he starting to whistle blow, or?
I don't know. I think that at different times in my life they said that people were watching us, or they weren't, and I didn't pay attention to it, but I think it was supposed to come to an end somewhere around my age 37, and they didn't want to do it. They never. I don't think they let any of them go. I've heard stories that they let some TIs go, or they watch. They say they watch people, and then these people are okay. They're going to let them go. They never do. They always harass them, even though the person doesn't realize it. But their life is limited, and they're held, and in particular, economically, they're always have their hand on their economics. It's
yes.
primary attack point.
Yes.
And the other things are support with family and
Yes,
marriages.
isolation and destroying the economic basis.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
As you were talking earlier, that I don't know how many other TIs are going to come to Europe to talk to you, but I'll swing it if I can. Any way I can get some money and come over.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And but it was not yet that your father started to write the book or something like that.
No, he always cooperated with them, and he knew about this stuff. I think before 1980, people knew about this like exponential function with the like a standing wave function, and I've seen it drawn, and I've seen I swear I saw a film of this thing. Actually, it was waves that came out, and it could pick things up and hold things, but the guy had it at a frequency where you could see it in air. It was really cool, and they had it on the news, and they thought it would have implications for many other disciplines, and then like 6 months later, that guy like jumped in front of a train or something, and it all went away. And I've seen this in math, I've seen it described, and I've tried to talk to mathematicians and physicists about it. Nothing, but I think I'm onto it now. So.
And what exactly did you see?
It's a spiraling function, but it's parametric. It takes two sources.
So you have seen it in theory in mathematics books or physics books?
I've seen it written on the board. I've never actually seen it written in a book.
Okay.
But I've seen the actual wave system, like a standing wave system that can do work at a distance.
Do you remember the title of the book?
No. I saw this thing on the news, and then it was the same story. It was really weird because this happened to me on a null platform. Where the guy, I think they did a dry run on me. Just like the guy came walking up with the notebook with the apertures I was describing. And there's a leather strap. I'm like, what's this guy? I thought he was working for the, train or something. But he's standing there looking right at me like he's aiming this thing at me. And I was like, what's going on? I was just when he's talking.
The computer on you?
Yeah, he was looking at the screen, and he would look at me, and he'd adjust it. He did something, and then I was like, uh-oh. And then I stood there, and all the people left the platform.
It was in Central Station, Chicago?
It was on two different stations in Chicago. And one day, the guy, when I was going to work, when I was going home, and then that's where I first saw the polarization scheme, where I thought, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It took years for me to go to engineering school and realize what I saw, but
yeah, so you have a degree in engineering.
I do have a degree in bioengineering
from
University of Illinois.
Yeah.
And so far, they're trying to kick me out of Northern now. I study for the master's degree in physics at Northern Illinois University, but I have to appeal now. I passed their qualifying exam. It took me 2 years to study as a TI to pass that exam.
Yeah,
that was very difficult.
Really done, yeah.
But
we know from our research that they use so-called scalar waves.
Yeah, this is very intriguing. I'm not sure what part of that is in this, it's a standing wave. Part of it is a standing wave. Part of it is a decay, like an exponential decay, like a piece of what's known as a sync wave. Have you ever seen this? It's almost like a Gaussian.
No, I don't know what a sync wave is.
It's remarkable. It has remarkable features. It's like the Fourier transform is of the square, or inverse is of the square signal. It's really interesting. Does a lot of tricks. Actually, this guy, what's his name? Mail?
Professor Mai.
Yeah, this guy will tell you some stuff about that, actually.
Yeah.
I'll write the functions down. If you see them, you can send them to him.
Yeah.
Because I had some printouts, I left them at the hotel. I was like, well, I don't know what we're really going to talk about. It starts like engineering talk. So I don't know if you're going to talk about the experience or... That's my focus now, is I'm dealing with all the stuff they throw at me. But the main focus is trying to duplicate the technology and demonstrate it. So this isn't anyone's imagination. You don't have to believe me. You can verify it. You can convince yourself.
Yeah. And in the United States, you have a researcher, Tom Bearden, who knows a lot about scalar waves and scalar waves interferometers. He is still working for the Army.
Who is this guy?
Tom Bearden.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard that.
He's quite well known. But Professor Mein in Germany knows more about scalar waves because he made the basic physics on it, how it is working, and he also says you need a resonance with the TI, and this is a standing wave, and
right.
It must be a difference in the phase by 180 degrees.
He likes 180. I do it as the function I do in my math program are like 90 degrees out of phase at an orthogonal, so that is 180, I guess. But standing wave is 180. It's pi. It just goes back and forth. And it goes like this.
Same frequency,
right,
in the same form of the wave.
Right.
Yeah.
It will do that once the wave attaches. It's like if you have a rope, like a jump rope tied to the end of a table, and you wave it, you can put a lot of waves in it, or not so many.
Yeah.
You can also shoot them back and forth, like a pulse.
And what I learned that they cheated us in the education of physics. There is official physics based on Einstein's theory of relativity, but that's bogus. And there is a secret physics telling the truth how it's really working, and this Tesla started to detect and to manifest, and Professor Mein was proceeding the work of Tesla.
I think it's in particular for Maxwell's equations, it's nice and neat if there are no monopoles. If it's the sum of it's like E equals 0.
The problem is that they falsified the Maxwell equation when Maxwell died, Heaviside and Gibbs.
There's more things to it.
Yes, and they put this scalar part to 0 because they said we can measure it. Yes, at that time they couldn't, but later on one could. And now Maya says, don't be crazy, don't put it to 0 because this is vital. And if you don't put it to 0, then you found a new kind of physics, and therefore they call it scalar waves because the scalar part was put to 0 earlier.
I don't know anything that I haven't read on the internet about it, because even though I study physics, nobody talks about that. So.
No, because in the education, this information is withheld.
Right. Well, whatever's happening, there's a fair amount of work went into making, even as Maxwell was making equations, I think he fixed one of them, a Faraday, and just to make them nice and neat. Everything's like a very nice compact statement. They're very nice, and they have a lot of implications. But I think that's, or they fixed the Ampere's law, added one piece, but. That's like things that they like to do, like mathematicians and physicists like to make a nice compact statement that always works. This will be very difficult to solve if there's like little extraneous pieces. They'll just make it 0 anyway.
Yeah, it was the Faraday cage that put us on the trace of the scalar waves, because most of TIs, the first thing they do, they go and hide in a Faraday cage.
I don't think that's going to work, actually, but they're going to...
No,
I think I can.
The result. And that means it must be some other waves than electromagnetic waves, because if they would target you with electromagnetic waves, you would get a shelter in a Faraday cage. But you don't.
You can play with the frequency too and still get in the cage, I think. But
Oh, well, if
there's a couple of tricks.
It's a very good cage. No. And other TIs, one Swede, he went to the north of Sweden where we have the iron mines in Kiruna and got 700 meters beneath the surface. No cell phone is working there, nothing. But he got targeted.
Oh, yeah.
He was not sheltered.
There's also one thing that happened to me when I realized that I was being targeted was that people were following me with phones and like clicking the phone and I would walk by and I was like, oh, whatever this is. And I realized I was in the subway and like no cell phone's going to work there, you know, underground. And they all have their cell phone on. I'm like, well, how are they talking? Who are they talking to? You know.
And that means they must
know
use scalar waves. And if you do the biology and look how our body is working, then you find, aha, the body is working also with scalar waves, as Mile has found out, not electric scalar waves, as Tesla found, but magnetic scalar waves. That's the clue. And of course, if you want to attach to a TI to a human, you need to adapt to the technology of the body. And the technology of the body is using magnetic scalar waves. And therefore they have to use it. It's as simple as that.
I think all those points are important, and especially in the idea of standing wave or interference and the self-referencing nature of this type of signals are part of life.
Yeah.
And I think this is
Yes.
and it's I think if you have a good trick in it, you can really exploit it horribly. It's like horrifying to be a victim of that stuff. But I forgot what I was going to say about that. But I think that if you can do, I mean, I think I can get this, you know, do this math this summer to make like a torque and a standing wave. And I think if you can do that and you can polarize it right and get the phase right, you can make a point-to-point connection between devices, electronic devices, or tissue, people.
Yes.
Yes. Either way.
And in people, you not even need...
Like it doesn't even have an antenna. I don't think you can pick it up with an antenna. Like you have to have a loop to go. You know, it's just going to be. It's not like broadcast.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's a
very unusual
wave, that scalar wave. It's longitudinal.
I think once you get if you can get the signal to attach, you can. The retreating wave just stands.
Yes.
And it goes. You know, there's some interference maybe, but.
And you don't
I think it's very unique.
Yeah, you don't even need a chip in the TI. If they have your DNA, it's sufficient because the DNA is an antenna itself.
Oh, and that's also a very intriguing area to discuss. I think that they're actually very much interested in those DNA and especially of geniuses. I mean, I think that there's a lot of history of the program that includes implants, various, all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you look through the whole spectrum of TI experience, it's like crazy. I mean, some of them have terrible hospitalizations and druggings, and
yes.
Others have implants, and then others have, I mean, there's probably, you know, if you think of how many, for every person who thinks they're a TI on Facebook, there's probably a dozen who probably, you know, their life is over, they're committing suicide. You know, you never hear from them. And many, many more that don't even know that's happening to them. They're just having a terrible time.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like horrifying.
Or they use them as killer machines and then they're forced to kill themselves.
This is also like, I've seen this on the news where respected reporters, the one guy is George Will and the woman was Cokie Roberts. They're talking about Mark David Chapman, this guy who shot John Lennon. Like they were saying he was being watched. And I'm like, I didn't know I was a TI at this time. I'm watching this on Sunday morning news or something like. And the woman told him to shut up, and like, don't say that. And then they went to a commercial, and then it was over. I thought, God, that's weird. You know, I was thinking like a normal person, like, what if those people who say that mind control is real and they're really doing that now? Like, yikes. But I think that's likely.
Yes, it is.
That I think this happened many times. They've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's the height of deniability. You know, the guy's nuts, and they're going to lock him up. That's it. You're gone. You know, no one will ever suspect that.
Siran, who murdered a boy.
Oh yeah, there's another one.
The same case.
Like you can't interview him. He's not allowed to talk. He won't. You know,
Harvey Oswald, mind control.
There's another one that was like, it's way too many pieces missing from the puzzle. You know, like he's fluent in Russian, or he goes to Russia, or he's a spy. He's not a spy. He's got training. You know, they don't have a training. He's a good shooter. He can't shoot. You know, like
Timothy McVeigh.
Which one? I don't know about that guy, but
the Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The Yula bomber. All the line on it's mind control.
There's several that are standouts that I think, and, you know, and many, probably many others we don't know about, but those in particular where I've seen actual, you know, or reputable people discussing about these guys, or they're close to programs or reporters, people reporting the Pentagon. There's another guy, his name is Seymour Hersh. He reports about the Pentagon, like spooky stuff, and he gets a weird look on his face, like, you don't want to know about that. Like, whoa, we kind of, what'd you tell us about? And it just goes away. And many of those things are going away. And people, that's like the edge of the believability of the TI stories, a big part of the spectrum. But I think it's probably one of the first things that they tried to do. You know, if they thought they could control a person, that's immediately what they would do. Because it's just so nasty that people won't believe it, but that's actually what they do.
When was it the first time that you definitely realized you were a TI?
I've had actually people tell me that people were watching me and I didn't believe them. I think this happens at TIs at different times. I think, why would somebody be watching me? I'm just some person, you know. Come on, this is ridiculous. And I would say when I really realized it was I just was going to University of Illinois at Chicago. It was like 2004 or something, where it was like, I'm in trouble. I'm in serious trouble. And the guy came after me on the L platform and with the computer, and then he walked away. Or I just got on the train, and he was sitting in a chair. And I was like...
The scene you just described earlier.
Right. And then I thought, what was that? I have no idea what that was about. And then when I went home, I still had a job at that time, and then I ended up getting framed or something. I quit. I was really paranoid for a while, and then
Did
they
you
were
feel some
all over
pain
me.
when he was targeting you?
No, I didn't feel any sensation, actually, until later. And he's going to do a lot of stuff to you. But, yeah, then that's when you're, at the beginning, your world really collapses, you know. You start realizing people can do just horrendous things to you, and no one will believe you. And
a little more precisely, what exactly happened that you realized that? How did you get the information?
Oh, first it was walking, like walkers. It started at this job I had. They have secret shoppers that they send to test you to see how you're doing in your retail stuff or whatever. So I identified all of them. So I would always treat them nice, and I got a good score. And then I realized there's other people were coming, and there was more and more and more. And then I started to watch people more closely, and then slowly it started coming on to me that, and they started V2K.
Oh.
So then I was like, no, I know I'm in trouble. This is, it happened before too. I didn't realize it. I thought I had been, I was hung over or something.
V2K is voices in your skull?
Yeah, it's like synthetic, they call it synthetic telepathy, or a voice beam, or...
Well, what kind of voices did you hear by V2K? Was it music or was it...
Oh, it was like a narrator. Start saying the things you're doing, commenting on what you're doing, and then it degrades.
Always the same voice?
No, it switched, and then later it did. There's like a team. I kind of got upgraded to their core team, and they just really were harassing me. I mean, just...
Male and female?
berating. There was one female, but very rarely did she come on to the broadcast. But there was one in Chicago, I think, or one or two, and they're I don't know what level they're at, but it's like pretty close to the top. I don't know if they know the whole thing, but there's about. I saw these guys actually. There was a case. I recognized them later. That they were. I saw them walking around. They were walking me on different places in my life, and they were on TV. They showed up in the same reporter's office. Her name is Carol Marin. And the case was about this kid had been sterilized there in a dorm room somehow. It was complicated. And these four guys showed up, and they just started yelling at him, like they wanted him out of the country. And his mother was there, like I got to get my kid out of the country. And this reporter was there, like she's very strong. She's like valiant reporter. She was like totally shaken, and these guys were just yelling all kinds of stuff at this guy, at this kid. And I don't know what happened to that story either, but I recognized all four of them.
That's interesting.
They know me. They're like top 4 agents.
You could tape this television?
I tried to get. I've never been able to get next to that reporter, Carol Marin. I tried to. I left letters for her. I emailed her. Some people call me back and brush me off. But they have footage of these guys, and she tells a story. That's a top contact. If you want to put the stories of TIs together, like the real horror stories, you have to contact this woman, Carol Marin. I think she wants to tell the stories too, but she doesn't really know what's happening.
She's a journalist?
Yes.
For what medium?
She works for NBC TV, on TV.
In Chicago?
And print at the Chicago Sun-Times, and also on public television at WTTW.
Mm-hmm.
So she's well known. I think she was on 60 Minutes for a while too.
Oh, really? Interesting.
She's known nationally and locally in Chicago.
Yeah.
So those are.
Approach her.
I tried to. I just, I'm like too small to, or I have to go to her house or something and find out, I don't want to get, the cops are going to come after me or something. But I think if I can put more stuff on my website is terrible. If I can put more stuff on there and then try and get TIs to email her with the website, maybe she'll respond.
What's the address of your website?
My website, it's not really done, but it's nsasurveillance.info. So if anybody sees it, maybe by the time I have some stuff up on there. I like to put the math and science up there to see. There's such fantastic stories and very difficult to believe that I would like to, I think it's important that the stories are told, but I would really like to be able to convince people of the science with the science. Mm-hmm. Say, I really don't want to be misunderstood or not believed or thought to be mentally ill or schizophrenic. Like, this is a terrible, terrible crime against humanity, in my opinion. And these are wonderful, wonderful people, and it's a miracle to be alive, and it's just horrific to treat people, innocent people, this way.
Yes, it is, really. And it's a big danger that we end up as small robots all over the world.
It's horrendous. I mean, they're just, it's a horrendous history. I think all of it should be told, and I think it ends up to be, fantastical in some ways as you reach out to like Manchurian notions and things like that. But just the regular TI experience is quite nasty all by itself. So
the V2K in your case is 24/7 or sometimes only?
It's not much now. It's mostly like I don't hear them, but you can feel it. Like you can feel ideas. I'm sort of like on silent mode.
Well, that's not V2K. That is telepathy.
It's like synthetic telepathy.
And they have also good. Now somebody is trying to disturb my thoughts. Horrible. They
have reasonable conversation with you.
Sure. I think you can do it. You can actually have the conversation semi-consciously or unconsciously and keep going about your business.
Yeah.
Like you can do more than one thing at once.
Do you have a feeling that they can look through your eyes?
Oh yeah, that's one of the first thing I went with the V2K at the beginning. Like clearly they start commenting on everything you're doing. Like you can see exactly what I'm doing. What's going on? How does this even work? This is crazy. You really get nervous and collapse. Yeah.
Of course. Do they molest you sexually?
All kind of every part of your body that they can attack, they do.
Yeah.
I don't know if people always realize it, but they will interrupt or affect your sex, or I think they'll do almost anything to anybody they can get away with.
Yes.
Like just antagonize them every possible way.
And they can induce pain to every inch of the body.
Oh yeah, sure.
We
were talking about this also with Henning, like heating and cooling and heart stopping. Like I get that heart attacks. They're big on that, on blood pressure and these like searing type of pains too. I've had. Also, one time I was doing laundry and that guy just burned me on the side. I didn't take a picture of it, but it was about the size of a quarter. I mean, it just like lit me up. I was like, ooh. I thought usually it's short, like the guy gets mad or something and just zapped me. And I went home and took my shirt off and it was a red circle like a quarter, what size of a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. I realized like this is very bad.
Could you give us a good example how they read your mind?
I think this can happen at all different levels of consciousness. Like there's plenty of headroom in the technology, so to speak. Like it would take you like a half a second to realize something, almost like how fast you can react to like a starter pistol. There's a window of time where you can't really do anything yet because you didn't realize what's happening. And I think to them, this is almost like an eternity to the technology. Like they have, if it's going to take you 5 or 10 milliseconds at the fastest reaction time ever, and they can do something in microseconds, they can do, you're so far ahead of you.
Scalar waves and they are faster than light. It was a big lie from Albert Einstein that nothing is quicker than light. Scalar waves are, and Hermann Oberth told it always, thoughts are quicker than light.
Yeah, I think most of what happens in the human experience is there's a lot of energy and time spent realizing things and what's happening. You get to think about them, and it's a tremendous gift. But when it's a machine or a chip that doesn't have to do that, and it can run at megahertz, and I don't think anything really happens in the brain above 1 megahertz. I think that's the top limit, and most of the functions are much lower, in hertz or 100 hertz, kilohertz, something like that, at the most. And I think they can manipulate thoughts and feelings and impressions just unnoticeably. Like the person will not notice it, only through the behavior. Like you would have a feeling, well, I don't know why I did that, or how did that happen, or something. And gradually, I mean, the things that are done to me now are like almost like a nudge on the shoulder, like it's loud or it's a lot. Like you see that? We just did that. Did you notice that? Like I know it's this guy's doing this. Like almost like a communication with a guy, like a rivalry or something. Like if you go along and things don't bother you, they'll notch it up. They want you to know as you become a TI. They want you to know that they're doing it to you. They want you to always feel like that. So that's pretty bad.
Do they tamper with your memory?
Yeah, I get this one. I've seen this in others that I knew there were TIs. They were in the parents of these TIs that we have. What you have is it's almost like Alzheimer's or something, where you forget the names of things. But now I could feel it. Like I'll be thinking of something and it's gone. Like they can do this like word by word. It can be done word by word.
Yeah.
You can fight. I've only a couple times. I've actually, I think I remembered the word that I was looking for just by mentally going through the alphabet and trying every letter to try and figure out what word I was trying to think of. And sometimes it takes me days, and like a couple days later I realized that it was absurdly easy to a word, you know. The guy's just screwing around. They can actually add and subtract, in my experience, ideas word by word, word specific. It's word specific. You can recognize words. Or they can manipulate stuff at that level before you can realize it. You know?
Yes. Do you have a suspicion that they swapped some of your memories, that they erased reality and got some false memory instead?
No, but I've had heightened memories that I thought that maybe in years gone by that they were doing something, and while that was happening, I had some part of my brain or my mind really noticed it and stored it like special. So I remembered the things, like several things, like of the mathematics and different experiences of being followed, like the guy. Somebody was putting some kind of flavor on the signal that your mind can really grab, like some things you can really grab. So I mean, I wouldn't discount that at all, that you can move stuff around, but I think that the mind is resonant, and so even if you remove things, it's still in there bouncing around. It just takes you a while to retrieve it. The path to retrieval and the path to consciousness are like different paths that they can just play in endlessly, you know, once you have access to it, I think. That's pretty horrendous.
Do you have a hunch whether you are hooked up to a computer, the human-brain interface question?
I've had this feeling because I don't think any one person could sit there as long as I've gone through things and continually, manually be doing that. Like it's some sort of program at different times of the day. Like it becomes nonsense to, I mean, unless they have, you know, like 8 people in shifts around the clock my entire life going, you know, like, now what can we do to them? Now, you know, it's like, really, is this really happening? It's got to be a machine, you know. Sometimes in V2K, it's the same voice that freshes the beginning of the day. Like it can, and I realize that 12 hours later, this guy can't still be the same guy. You know, you just be out of your mind doing this to someone like as bad as the person suffering. You know, it's like, how could you even sit there and do that long? You know, you'd be exhausted.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have an explanation why let you know that you are mind controlled? The majority, they don't let you know, and that is important because those who know talk, and that is a risk. Do you have an explanation why they let you know?
I do. It was. I ended up working at a place with the people that I was working at in this really low-end job. I was a bicycle messenger. Maybe half a dozen people in that office either were related to people with extraordinary IQs, like over 200, or they themselves had an IQ of 180 or above. These are people that are 1 in a million.
And your IQ?
I didn't want to know, because my dad was supposed to be 211, supposed to be immeasurable.
Yeah.
I don't know, my aunt, his sister, was also very, she's the one who got the hysterectomy. So I thought then that they're not sterilizing the person, that they're actually collecting this DNA. That's my theory of it.
Yeah, but they could do it without letting you know.
I've heard that now they don't do a whole thing, like they just do one ovary. The person never knows. It's like a surgery. They just have a diagnosis, and they're happy that they get a good prognosis, and then you never know. But this was reported also by Carol Moran. It was a really horrible story. It's horrible in my family.
Because I have a suspicion that they at least let know some of the TIs what's going on, because they have to train their computers
if some TI is awakening, then they need programming for the computer how to fight back to get them catched again.
I think they can identify people with extraordinary skills or extraordinary thinking power or DNA that they're interested in handily. Like whatever it takes to do that, they can do it very fast. And as people were, I've tried to tell, actually I've been on Facebook and other places trying to tell people that I think you may be, much smarter than you think, or you may be related to someone who's very smart. Or this, I think, is the origin of their original surveillance, was to keep track of, like someone like my dad, or strategic workers, or strategic geniuses, or like people from the Manhattan Project and stuff like this. Like they're one of a kind. They can't let this guy get kidnapped or taken or anything like this.
Or they agents.
Right, and so they watch them. They have like no travel rules and stuff like that for certain people, I guess. Or they used to. And then gradually, it's just crazy. Like if they can do this to these people, they can do all these experiments, they can do all this behavior to people, and they just continue. It's escalate and escalate and escalate around the world.
Did they try to force you to commit a crime sometime?
They'll do many types of attacks like this to do socialized behavior. Like people will come, or you'll have friends, and they'll invite the idea to do different, maybe some adventurous stuff or some things, but it didn't really work on me. Other times I've had people approach me with about guns or something, which I was never interested in guns. But I thought about it later, like, it was really weird. Like, it just came out of nowhere. Also motorcycles and like things that you can get in an accident and or do other things. I've also heard about this with other people that were TIs. Like you can get, just to have they'll try and get the person into some behavior and then get them arrested or get them in an accident and things like this. Like just terrible things. But I don't, maybe part of, it's probably part of some other program like Manchurian stuff where they just, it's play to them, for just an average TI, But, in other programs, I'm sure that they have absolutely, tried and true methods to get a gun in somebody's hand. Like, they can do it fast.
Yeah.
They can convince them very fast.
Did you have problems with psychiatry that they put you into mental hospital?
They didn't manage to get me, but I avoided it for a long, long time. I was very successful with that. And finally they got me to sign something, and I didn't realize what I signed, and I just wanted some sleeping pills. Just give me some relief from this and that. What I had said to this, I was doing experiments with a professor, and they were asking me about the situation I was in. I was like, man, I just wish this whole thing would be over, and they were interpreting it like, he's going to do something to himself or something like this. So they tricked me into going, they said the doctor wasn't there to help you. They tricked me into going to the emergency room to ask for some sleeping pills. But when I signed the documents, they got me. I couldn't leave. They did lock me up for like 4 days.
Oh, really? Did they contact the judge?
No, they
just locked you away?
Yeah.
Against your will?
Yep.
In Chicago?
Yep.
What is the name of the hospital?
It's the University of Illinois Hospital. It's a research hospital. It was. That was a crazy house too. There's just people there. They were like on Thorazine and stuff. They're just drooling, and they put you in there. They just harass you. They threatened me. The first day, the guy threatened to tie me down and put an IV on me if I didn't do everything and eat everything they gave me. And
what is IV?
They put the bag with the drip in your arm. Or intravenous, it stands for IV. So I was like, okay, man, they got me. I'm like this classic story of many TIs getting locked up in there.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and this also happened to my mom. It was like her life, and we believe that actually about her. And another TI friend of mine is his mom also. Our mothers were friends.
Also Chicago University Hospital?
All over. She went to like all different ones. They just marched her around. It was her life was spent that way. And then I can't find her now. She's like disappeared.
She's disappeared.
Yep.
It's not declared dead.
Nope. I can't. I looked for the death certificate about 3 or 4 times.
What's her name?
Her name is Patricia Stinn. So I never got a missing persons report about that either, but there's always someone, like every year or so, there's some lead, and then it goes nowhere.
Which date is she born?
She's born, I think September 25th or September 29th, 1929. So she's up in her 80s now.
Horrible.
If she's alive,
In
somewhere.
the freest country of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nightmare. But they really got it. I mean, they really went after them. They were both wives of strategic workers. And I don't know what happened to the other one's first husband, but they had one that she had with the government worker. She complained about this. This is my friend's mom. Said she would complain. This was in the 70s. She used to say this stuff. That once he did that government work, that's when all this stuff happened. And she had been hospitalized several times, and we believed that we believed our mothers had the same disease. And then she would say, this was exactly what she said, the government man could see you in any room, they talk right in my ear. I was like, wow, that's so insane. And we were like 10 years old, or less than 10 years old, early 70s. It's exactly the experience. I mean, it's exactly the experience. I said that back to him, trying to tell him, like, he's had trouble with his daughter now. She's like severely attacked, and he just freaks out. And sometimes I just left. He told me to go. He can't face it. Like, you realize something horrendous is going on, and then he completely denies it. They just deny it and go back to their life.
We often talk about they. Do you have a hunch who they are?
I know the ones from the program, that the 4 I recognized on the news, and the people my dad was associated with were from NSA. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the CIA controls it. They try and do other stuff, but if they had this stuff, I think there'd be a lot more dead people.
Well, I think they have access to it, but the mastermind is probably the NSA and the CIA. The NSA is getting much more money than the CIA.
Yeah. I think they use them. I think the NSA will use the CIA to do stuff, and they will.
Exactly. A little bit false flag, yeah.
Yeah, like they'll loan them some things or show them some technology, but they never quite get their hands on it to own it and really manipulate it like NSA does.
Yes.
They got it.
And they have their own hit squadrons in the NSA as well, that we know.
This case is, just the flagship of TI experience, I think, is this John St. Clair Acquai versus NSA case. Have you seen that?
No.
You got to download that one. That guy described everything in a lawsuit that was dismissed. And it's famous among TIs, like on Facebook and stuff. You probably have that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that one's very interesting. It has like frequencies and all the different branches of NSA in it that do the different things. What people call stalking or walk around surveillance and stuff like that, like different levels. And how they connect, I think, and I don't know if it's Echelon or whatever. I don't know all the program names, but they go from country to country and have agreements to do stuff.
Yes, exactly. They are.
So it has to be at that level to get this done. You can't. It can't be such a homogeneous experience across, so far across oceans. I mean, this is like horrendous.
How much do you know about whether they use radar technology? Because National Security Agency, NSA, I think they use radar as well, aren't they?
I think that torque or standing wave or torquing field far exceeds radar. That it's not based on reflection. It's just based on feedback from the waves.
They use radar machines to produce standing waves.
Oh, okay. I'm not an expert on radar, but I'm sure that'll do it. I mean, they have to have a very powerful source to try and reach as far as they can, make a big area. So, but I mean, the stuff and just to experience in a room, I mean, they're almost to the point where they can set up a 3-space, like what would you call it, like a virtual camera, and look and turn it. Like that's the experience I get from how fast the guy can react to situations and people moving. Whoever's in the control room is doing stuff like he can deliberately look around a room or look in drawers or look, anywhere. It's like the materials don't stop him from seeing. It's like profoundly crystal penetrating imaging technology.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be like extraordinary to have that in a hospital to help people, or to be able to go in the body and go after a tumor or something like this. Like to imagine what could be done to help people to improve lives, and in the most profound sense, the opposite of that is happening. They're just destroying lives.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just disgusting to me. I mean, I think so many wonderful things could happen with the technology, and it's just horrendous.
What have you taken measures to protect yourself?
I'd say the best things to do is if you can exercise and get as much sleep as you can, that's good. And I unfortunately I sometimes smoke, sometimes don't smoke. I battle that, and I think the best thing is to take the best care of yourself as you can. And I think one of the best things that's underrated is exercise, really. You can see I'm losing that battle. It's a constant struggle.
Good company.
But this is like recently, get very stressful, and then I just try and have some comfort from food. But,
did you test some of the Defender devices from Q-Wave, the tabletop or the Defender you're hanging around your neck?
I never done anything. The only thing I'm working on now is to try and get that math to make those spirals the way I want, like standing wave spiral, and then I'm going to try and build a circuit to try and do that. Even if I can do a simple one, even if it's just sync pulses, if I can get them to spiral, if I can get a torque to come out of it, like I know that it can be used as a tool to do work at a distance, that would be I think that's not too complicated, actually. That's
no, it shouldn't be. If you get the clue that there are spirals or vortices there.
Yeah, that's so I think that can be done. So I'll try and do that, or if I can make math, I'll put it on my website. It's difficult to put things on there, though, that are in a format that you can see or that you can save, and this is a constant problem for me, like trying to build a website.
Make a thorough study of Professor Miles' research. Buy his books. They are always published in English.
Oh, they are now? Okay, I thought it was in German. It's not in German, right?
No, both. He published in German and English.
Okay.
In my English interview with him, I showed the books' titles in English.
Okay.
You should demand them. They don't cost a lot.
Okay.
And then there you can do the math or the physics based on it.
Okay.
Do you want to finally say something to the audience?
I don't know. I think it's just my regular motto is don't give up, keep on going. It's that's the hardest thing in the world to do. And sometimes you kind of have to give up and just, don't fight it too hard. You're not going to come out every time, but you got to keep on going. keep on struggling away until we can see what can be done. And I think there's a lot of organization going on now. I think that's very cool.
Yes.
And I very much appreciate what you're doing here.
Thank you. And what Magnus has done, Magnus Olsson, he has also made huge steps forwards with his mindcontrol.se homepage, which is always attacked. And he was a guy who contacted us.
I think those guys, ICAT and Lars, and also Carmen, I thought she has a really cool site too. EuroTIs.
And I, on my website, ystv.se, have a lot of mind control themes.
Yeah.
Not only, but
I keep going back there to visit, and every time I see something new, like a mile or something.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting.
And you saw the English interview with the girl from Lüneburg.
That's right. We were talking about a Korean girl. She's a student, you know.
Okay.
And there's another one. Oh, okay, I didn't see the next one then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and I finally want to put the question to you in the audience. Can you be sure that you're not mind controlled? Thank you. Bye-bye.